Imagine this for a moment. You and 799 friends are standing on a battlefield. Across the field, far into the distance, you see something terrifying. An army. Not a small one. 70,000 soldiers marching toward you. The ground shakes as thousands of feet move together. Dust rises into the air. Armor shines in the sunlight. And suddenly you realize something shocking. Your side only has 800 soldiers. No giant army coming to help. No secret backup. Just 800 people facing an army almost 90 times bigger. Most people would think the battle is already over before it even begins. But what happened next became one of the most unbelievable moments in history. Because somehow, against all odds, 800 soldiers defeated an army of 70,000. And the secret behind this impossible victory is something anyone, even a 10-year-old, can understand. Let's travel back to the day this incredible battle began. The battlefield stretched across a hot desert. The sun was blazing, and the wind carried dust across the land. On one side stood the enormous army of 70,000 soldiers. They had numbers, strength, and confidence. They believed this battle would be easy. After all, how could 800 people defeat 70,000? It sounded impossible. But the smaller army had something the larger one didn't fully understand. A smart leader with a powerful plan. You see, great battles are not always about who has the biggest army. Sometimes they're about who thinks the smartest. The leader of the 800 soldiers carefully studied the battlefield. He looked at the hills, the narrow paths, and the areas where soldiers would have to move. He knew something important about large armies. When an army becomes extremely big, it can also become very difficult to control. Think about it like this. Imagine trying to organize 70,000 students in a school at the same time. Some students won't hear the instructions. Some might move too early. Others might move the wrong way. It becomes confusing very quickly. But organizing 800 people is much easier. They can move faster. They can listen to orders. They can work together like one strong team. And that gave the smaller army a huge advantage. But the leader had another clever idea. He chose a position where the giant army could not attack all at once. Think about trying to push thousands of people through a narrow doorway. No matter how many people are behind them, only a few can go through at a time. That's exactly what happened in this battle. Even though the enemy had 70,000 soldiers, only a small number could fight at once. Instead of facing thousands at the same time, the smaller army faced smaller groups. This made the battle much more fair. But there was something even more powerful than strategy. The mindset of the soldiers. The 800 soldiers knew they were outnumbered. They knew the odds were against them. But instead of feeling hopeless, they became even more determined. They believed in their leader. They believed in their mission. And they believed in each other. Sometimes when people know they are facing impossible odds, they fight with even greater courage. Meanwhile, many soldiers in the giant army believed the battle would be very easy. They thought the smaller army would run away quickly. This kind of thinking can be dangerous. When you think victory is guaranteed, you may stop paying attention. You may underestimate your opponent. And that can lead to big mistakes. Soon the battle began. The massive army started marching forward, confident and powerful. They expected the smaller army to break apart immediately. But something unexpected happened. The 800 soldiers did not run. They stood firm. They stayed in formation. They followed their leader's plan carefully. And slowly, the giant army began to struggle. Because the army was so huge, communication became difficult. Some soldiers could not hear their commanders. Some groups didn't know when to attack. Others moved in the wrong direction. Imagine a giant machine with thousands of moving parts. If those parts stop working together properly, the machine stops working. That's exactly what started happening to the massive army. Meanwhile, the smaller army stayed organized. They moved together like a team. They defended their position and attacked carefully when the moment was right. Little by little, the battle began to shift. And then something very powerful happened. Fear started spreading through the giant army. In battles, panic can move faster than anything else. If a few soldiers begin to run away, others may think something terrible has happened. Then they run too. Soon confusion spreads everywhere. Soldiers begin asking themselves a frightening question. Are we losing? And once an army starts thinking that way, things can fall apart quickly. The smaller army noticed this moment. They saw that the giant army was becoming confused and uncertain. So they pushed forward with courage. What began as a defensive stand turned into a powerful counterattack. The soldiers of the smaller army fought together, side by side. They stayed disciplined. They trusted their leader. And suddenly the impossible began to happen. The giant army started breaking apart. Some soldiers retreated. Others became lost in the chaos. Without clear orders or organization, the huge army could not fight as one force anymore. And when a massive army loses its unity, its size no longer matters. Meanwhile, the 800 soldiers stayed united. They continued pushing forward. They fought bravely and stayed focused on their goal. Step by step, the giant army collapsed. What should have been an easy victory for the army of 70,000 soldiers turned into one of the most shocking defeats in history. 800 soldiers had faced impossible odds. And they had won. But the real lesson of this story goes far beyond the battlefield. It teaches us something important about life. Many people believe the biggest team always wins. But history shows that isn't always true. Sometimes a small group with the right strategy, strong leadership, and courage can defeat a much bigger opponent. We see this in many parts of life. Small businesses challenge giant companies. Underdog sports teams defeat powerful champions. Young inventors create ideas that change the world. The lesson is simple. Size alone does not decide the outcome. What matters more is teamwork, intelligence, courage, and belief. The battle of 800 versus 70,000 reminds us of that powerful truth. Because when people work together, stay disciplined, and believe in their mission, they can accomplish things that seem impossible. That's why this story has been remembered for generations. It shows us that even when the odds look overwhelming, victory is still possible. Sometimes the smallest group can make the biggest difference. And sometimes the most unbelievable victories come from the most unexpected heroes. If you enjoyed this incredible story, you'll definitely want to watch the next video where we explore another unbelievable moment in history when a tiny force changed the course of events forever. And if this story amazed you, make sure to like the video and subscribe because the next story might be even more unbelievable.